when did you first meet Emily? How long have you been friends with Emily?
I met Emily, I think, in grade 9. So we were in high school together. So we've been friends for 16 years.
Wow.
Yes.
And how was she back then?
She was kind of like she is now. She was very fun. Everybody liked her. I had heard a lot about her before I actually met her because she used to have parties at her parents' house and stuff. Yeah.
So she's a party girl even grade 9, eh?
Yes.
And what would happen at these parties when you went?
You know, like typical high school parties, like nothing crazy, just like kids drinking and stuff. And
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Okay, so let's skip on to when Emily did her deed. Mm-hmm. So how did you first hear about it? Who told you first? What happened?
So I was at work. I'm a speech pathologist, so I was at work, and I checked my phone after I was done with a client, and I had a message from her sister, her older sister, saying, "Oh my God, Emily's in jail." And so I closed my office door, and I was like, what do you mean? And she said, and then she told me what happened, and she said she flew into the Pearson airport with cocaine, and she's in prison. And I burst into tears, and then I had to like pull myself together and reopen my office door and pretend like nothing happened, finish out my day of work. Then I went home and I told my husband, who's actually her cousin, and then I had a little meltdown, and that was how I found out.
And then when did you first see her? What happened next? What was your next point of contact? Who'd you?
I don't remember who I contacted next, but eventually, I think within the next 2 days, Emily called me. And she said, "I'm fine, you know, this happened, but don't worry, like I'm totally fine. I'm back home now." And she kind of explained to me the whole story.
What did she tell you?
She told me about the guy who had kind of convinced her to go on the trip with him, and then ended up like tricking her into smuggling the cocaine back home. And at the time she was like, "But don't worry, it's not a big deal. I'm not gonna go to jail. Everything's gonna be fine. I've got a lawyer." So I thought, okay. And also, actually my wedding was in 2 weeks and she was my bridesmaid. So I was just really happy that she wasn't gonna be in jail for the wedding. Yeah.
So do you think that's the only time she did it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I have no reason to believe otherwise.
Okay. So you had your wedding. She was out.
Yes.
She was a bridesmaid at your wedding.
Yes.
And then what was the next part of her story?
Then it was a lot of just waiting and court dates, and we'll find out at this date, and then that date comes along, oh, we'll find out at the next date what's happening. And still thinking she's gonna be fine, she's not gonna go to jail. And then also everyone in her family asking me what was going on, because I was like the closest point of contact to her. And the Hamilton friends, because she had been living in Toronto at the time, so I was the closest point of contact for the Hamilton friends. So all the Hamilton friends asking me what was going on, and I really didn't know what was going on. And it went on like that for a really long time, like 2 years almost.
So was she like a changed person at this point? Like
Yeah.
if you were her best friend,
Yeah.
but you didn't know what was going on?
Right.
So what you're saying is that everybody else knew less than you, and you knew very little.
Everyone else knew what, sorry?
Less than you.
Yes.
And you knew.
I
you
didn't know
still
anything, but no one else knew anything either. So I think everyone thought I knew something because we were so close, but I really didn't know anything.
So, when did your relationship with her change then? When you got married, or was it just before then, or you kind of just drifted apart, or?
I don't think it really changed. I just didn't know about about that part.
But how would you, as your best friend, not have beaten it out of her?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no answer for that. I just thought she was like partying and whatever.
You just thought, that's Emily.
Yeah.
She'll tell you when she wants to. Okay.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Okay, so she goes off to prison. In fact, she goes to court. She gets convicted. I guess she's on house arrest first. Do you go and see her at her place when she's on house arrest?
Yeah, I went and saw her at her mom's, and she could still like go places when she was on house arrest. So we were still hanging out. It actually kind of felt like nothing had really changed.
Right.
She just had to check in with her mom more, but we were still doing the same things we were doing. And yeah.
Okay, and then she goes to prison. And were you there for the sentencing?
No.
No? Okay. So were you waiting to hear? Like,
yes.
Were you, okay, so who told you? She told you, your mum told you?
So at this point, I was talking to my husband's mom, who's her aunt, because some of her aunts and uncles, grandparents, they all went to the sentencing. So I was waiting for my mother-in-law to just give me like the play-by-play of what was going on. So we were in a group text message, like the family.
Right.
And I think it was Patty, her Aunt Patty, who was there and like relaying all the information. So, okay, at sentencing, okay, this happened. Judge said this. Okay, this is like her sentence, and now she's going.
How was that?
So I think the week leading up, once I knew she was going to prison, that was hard because it went from, Emily puts on a really good front. It went from everything's totally fine, I'm not gonna go to prison, it's gonna be fine, to like, it's December, I'm probably gonna go to prison in January. So those few weeks when I was like, oh shit, like it's really happening, it's real, she's going, that was kind of stressful, and I was, I was emotional about that. And then at the sentencing, I just knew what to hope for. I knew what kind of sentence we were hoping for, and she got that. So I thought, okay, this is the best outcome that we could have had. This is what we've got.
So did you feel it was a bit like she was just emigrating, really? Right, she was just going away for 9 months, and
I just thought, okay, she's gonna go. Well, no, because there's uncertainty. Like she's going there, that's gonna be fine. I was not worried about her being in prison, really. Like Emily's really tough, and she can make the best of any situation. So I thought, and I said this to a couple of my friends. I was like, if any of us had to go to prison, Emily can do it. She's not a princess. She's tough, so I wasn't worried about that. But I didn't know what would happen when she got out. Because, to be honest, our whole friendship, not that our friendship was based on alcohol, but it was a lot of alcohol. So we did sober things together, but we did a lot more drunk things together, so I didn't know what it would look like when she got out, her being sober 100% of the time. And to be honest, I didn't know if she could do it. I thought, this is the way I've always known her. What if she can't be sober? And what if she just keeps going? What if this is the end? What if then now for the rest of her life she's like in and out of jail, one of those people? So that was, I think, my biggest worry.
So say Emily puts on a good front. Mm-hmm. What part of Emily don't we see then?
Emily will not show you any worries. If she's worried, she will not tell you. If she's she will hide her feelings, any negative feelings, and I think she doesn't want other people to worry either. I think she wants everyone to think that she's going to be okay.
So do you think that Emily the brand has always been Emily the brand?
Yeah, that could be fair. Not that she's not being herself, like this is herself, but she just doesn't share like negative feelings usually.
So she's out, and how soon before she saw you once she left the prison?
When she went in prison?
No, when she left.
Oh, when she was out of prison.
Did you go and see her when she was in prison?
Yes.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yes.
What was that like?
Oh, that was interesting. So I drove up to the prison a total of 4 times, but I only saw her 1 time because I kept messing things up. So the first time I went to see her, I was really nervous, and I had been working in Beamsville that day, so I took the Skyway Bridge from Niagara, QW, down to Kitchener, and it was like a crazy windstorm, and I was driving over the Skyway Bridge, and it was like shaking, and I was like, oh my God, I'm risking my life to go see Emily. This is super like crazy driving. And then I finally got there after this like terrible drive, and I went into the prison. Before I went into the prison, so there's a lot of things you have to do. I had to take off all my jewelry, like take out all my earrings, like all my body piercings, everything. I had to make sure I only took in, I think like car keys and my ID. And then I get in there, and I've got like all this paperwork that I filled out, and they said, we're sorry, there are no visits today because of the windstorm. And I was like, what? And they said, oh yeah, it's a safety risk for some reason. So then I drove all the way back home. So then the next time I went to see her, so on the form that they give you, it's like a 6-page front and back, all these instructions, really detailed. And so you think like that that everything you need to know should be in this package. And they have dates and times for visiting. So it's like a certain day of the week, and it's a 3-hour window. So it says visits from, I forget the time, but from, I don't know, from this time, from like 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock. So I left Hamilton around 3, but then I had forgotten my paperwork, so I turned around and went home. So then I was like, okay, well, I'm still like gonna get there at like 4:30, so I'm only gonna be half an hour late. So I got there, and they were like, we're sorry, you've missed your visit. And I said, well, no, there's still 2.5 hours left of visiting. And they said, oh, you have to be there at 4. You can't just come like anytime in that window. And nowhere in that package does it say that, which is super frustrating, because it just says, like, it looks like it's a window of time that you can just like drop in. Anyways, so that was the second time. Then the third time, I actually did get to visit her. And it was a really good visit, because I thought she looked great, first of all. Like, she looked so fresh, and like her hair was healthy, and she told me about all the stuff she was doing there. Like, she could go for hikes, she was recording a song, she was doing all this stuff, and she was really, really positive. So it was really good to see her, and I felt like she was doing really well. And it was a relief, because I thought that she would do well, but it's prison. Like, who knows, right? But she was doing great, so that was good. And then I tried to go see her a 4th time, and she only had like a month left in, so I was gonna go see her again. And I got there, and they had the dog come. So they make you all the visitors stand in a line, and then they have the dog come around and sniff you, and that was all fine. And then they take your ID and they put it in this machine called the ion scanner, and they scan it for drugs. And then, so they scanned my ID, and they said you have an alarming amount of drugs on your ID, and they printed out this graph, and it was like dee, dee, dee. And I was like, what are you talking about? And they were like, yeah, you won't be able to visit today. And I was like, well, I haven't been in contact with any drugs. And then they were like, oh, are you prescribed any medication? And I said, yeah, I have like prescription medication. And they said, oh, well, that's like, that could be what's on here. So I couldn't see her. And then I said, okay, well, is this going to affect my visits in the future? And the woman said, no, you've had no other issues here, it's fine. And then I got this letter in the mail like a week later saying that I was denied visits unless it was like through a glass or something, like I couldn't do regular visits anymore. But then I was like, whatever, she's getting out in a few weeks. And then I heard that it wasn't just me that this happened to, like her mom, that machine isn't accurate, like her mom has probably never done drugs in her whole life. Like it said that her ID had drugs on it, like it's not accurate.
So she comes out, and when do you first see her? I think you called me. Yeah, she called me first when she got out. And I was so happy, and we talked for like an hour. And then it was maybe a week before I actually saw her. And I can't remember, do you remember like where? Because I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember exactly. I think it was about a week. Oh, you came to my house. Yeah, so she came to my house. Oh, and that was funny because she had to make a phone call from a landline every so often to check in with her parole officer. So she came to my house, and then she said, okay, we need to go somewhere with a landline. So we went to this Vietnamese restaurant that I go to all the time, so they knew me. So I thought they might let me use their landline. So I went in and I was like, can my friend use your landline to make a phone call? And they kind of looked at me strange and then let her use the phone.
Oh, we went to the circus thing. Remember we went to the studio?
Oh, yeah.
That's what we did. Yeah.
That's what we did too. Yeah, she came to my house, and then we went to, I'm also a part-time circus performer, so we went to my studio, and I gave her like a little lesson and had her do some aerial stuff.
Sober lessons.
She was really good because she was really strong and healthy. She climbed really well. Yeah.
So do you think there's a new Emily versus an older Emily, or same Emily?
I think she's always been the same person. I think she's just sober now, like 100% of the time. So I feel like maybe she's just more of herself now. I don't think she's different. I think she's just more of herself because she's sober, so there's nothing distracting from her true self and nothing taking away from that.
How's that affected your friendship? Because your friendship was like 80% kind of off kilter versus... you go out for a drink and you can drink, but she can't, and that's a difficult thing to do, right? When somebody else is not.
But yeah, so it's a bit different just because I won't be like, hey, do you want to come to a party with me, or like, do you want to go out or whatever. It'll be like, hey, do you want to have lunch, or do you want to go for a hike, or do you want to go rock climbing? But it's also it's not that hard because I feel like we're all kind of getting to the age, like I'm 30 and I'm kind of like, I don't want to binge drink all the time anymore. So yeah. But I know some of my other friends, my one friend said to me when Emily first got out, she said, I want to invite Emily, but I don't know like if that's a good idea. Like, how do I navigate this? And I said, just like literally say that to her. Text her or call her and say, I want to hang out, but I don't know what kind of situation I want to invite you to.
Great. So your friendship with Emily continues to be as strong as it was today?
Yeah.
You think it's got stronger in any ways?
Yeah, for sure. Well, because now we've been through a lot now. I mean, we had been through a lot before, but this was a really, really big deal. And went through it, and we've kind of figured out a little bit of a different friendship now. So it's been stronger.
So from your perspective, when you think now about the criminal system, you think about prison, like, has it kind of changed you in any perspective of from before, knowing nothing about it really, and now you do know, has it changed your perspective on, like, you've seen Emily go into prison, and Emily was strong enough and had, either personal resources, external resources, to treat it as a rehabilitation,
right,
and to actually come out in a positive sense with her popcorn and everything else.
Yes.
Has that changed your view on the criminal justice system and criminals in general? Like, if someone now says to you, "I was in prison," do you think about it differently?
Definitely. I never thought that I would have a friend who went to prison. And but I guess I never really thought about prison before. It didn't affect my life. Didn't know anyone who went to prison. Just kind of like ignored it. So I guess it's just kind of, I've learned a lot about prison and the criminal justice system through her. And then it's also made me realize how unfair it is, because Emily, for example, she worked really hard and she had the personal resources to turn this into a positive, and she had the support of her family, and she had the support of like the bishop from the Catholic Church. So having all that support was a big deal for her, and it was helpful in her sentencing, and the judge even said that in her sentencing, that it was that he took into consideration her family support and her support of society. And I just think, what about the people who don't have that? Or what about the people that don't look as cute selling their popcorn? They don't have the chances that she had, and not to take away from her hard work, because like that, it's mostly based on your hard work, but without those external factors, people don't have those external factors, it makes it 100 times harder for them to succeed when they're out. And even like with their sentencing, if you don't have a supportive family, the judge is going to give you a bigger sentence. That's basically what the judge said, which is kind of crazy, but.
So do you know any other criminals now? Or ex-criminals, ex-cons? Have you met other people through Emily who have also been to prison, or is she your only?
As far as I know, she's
she's the only one who's told you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any closing comments?
I'm really proud of Emily. She's exceeded all my expectations of what her life would be like after prison. I had faith in her, but I wasn't 100% sure of how it would go, and I just have to give her so much credit for working extremely hard and having such a positive attitude, and to pick herself up and keep going every day, and to just survive this. I know I couldn't do that, what she has done.